Uh,
Stream is live.
Yep, here we are. Hi, welcome to the first installment of Firth and Friends. I'm here with my good friend and also a client, Jeff Green. He has a very interesting story to talk about how he developed, really from nothing, a concept that I think was pretty brilliant once you get to know it. And I'm going to let him introduce himself, and I want to just have him give you a short background of how he came up with this idea.
Sure, John, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to do this with you here.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
And been looking forward to it for some time. So
Yes.
thanks again for carving out time for me. Yeah, my name is Jeff Green. I am the CEO and co-founder of a software platform called NuOp, NuOp. You can Google us or just go to nuop.com, check out who we are. What we're trying to do with NuOp, the problem that we're trying to solve is we're trying to empower people to create business opportunities between themselves. We see, I'm a real estate broker by trade.
Mhm.
That's kind of how I grew up in the business world. And the amount of money that real estate agents and brokers have paid the likes of Zillow and Realtor.com and Google and Facebook ads and all these things. Meanwhile, the vast majority of business that actually gets done and the profitability that's brought down to the bottom line is really, it comes down to person referrals,
Absolutely.
recommendations, those sorts of things. So, this all started out as an application for realtors to exchange clients with one another around the United States of America. We solved that problem pretty quick and built a really great tool for it. And then we saw the opportunity to expand into all other sort of verticals. And now we're trying to, provide a great tool for business people to be able to speed up the velocity of the referrals and recommendations that they get amongst
Absolutely.
each other. Because there's a
Yeah.
huge economy there that's just really not looked at and worked on.
So I think there are two very interesting things, real lessons to be learned is you're not by training a software developer or software engineer, and you also bootstrap this through thick
Yeah.
and through thin. So tell me a little
For
bit
better
about
or
that and your
worse.
experience. Yeah, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Many people don't have a choice, although you are
Right.
going to be raising capital soon.
Yeah.
Because you really need that to launch this even better than you're doing now.
We do. I think any platform out there is always in need of more money because it's, the world is a massive place, and you always have finite resources to manage infinite possibilities, right? So,
Right.
but I would like to say, yeah, we're from the Hudson Valley of New York, not the Silicon Valley of California, so it's, we're not necessarily sitting in the seat of venture capital. So yeah, we've had some opportunities. We've raised some money through friends and family. We, set out there a while ago to raise some venture funds, and it largely turned out to be a waste of time because, quite frankly, we didn't have the metrics in terms of traction and revenue to substantiate, for those investors to invest in us. And I'm a real estate broker. I'm not a guy who's done it and been there and grew up in Silicon Valley. So I'm largely unknown in the software world. And it's hard for people to take a chance on a guy like me. So I think the vast majority of people out there looking to do something like we've done are in the same boat. You're going to have to look to your friends and family.
I hear it all the time.
You're going to have to dig into your own pocket. You're going to have to squeeze money from anywhere you can to make it happen. And that's what we've done.
Yeah. I think compounded to the issue is right now we're in a high interest rate atmosphere. Debt, anything for investors, it's got to meet all criteria. I'm hearing that also from my network. This is a particularly difficult time because the cost of capital is so high.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, you could put your money in a bank and earn 4.5% right now, right? Which is 2.5, 3 points off the magic number 7, which means you double your money in every 10 years, right? Like, who wouldn't just want to park money in at a 7% interest rate? So you're absolutely right. It is a hard time to raise money. But there's also opportunities that come with that, like specifically with, as it relates to NuOp on the growth side of things. The real estate market has contracted greatly over the last 18 to 24 months, meaning the number of transactions have shrunk substantially. Prices are still pretty high, right? Because there's still a high lack of inventory. But in our industry, in the real estate industry, a lot of realtors are scrambling for leads, so it's a really great opportunity for people to recognize the opportunity of NuOp, right? To dive into your relationships and to try to generate more business from the people you already know and the business that you're already exchanging. Just put it into the system and make it work for you.
It's interesting you bring that up. My husband is a commercial real estate broker, as you know, in New York City.
Correct.
It's we just sat down and talked about sort of where he is with all of his leads and what have you. He has had an amazing number of referrals given to him in the last month. I just
Yep.
like 5 or 6 major referrals for big projects. I've never heard that from him before. So he's actually taken this opportunity to really use his network.
Well, I look forward to having a live training session with Curtis in the near future on NuOp.
Yeah,
so
I want that to happen. Yeah.
So that he can take it even further,
Yeah. He works, by the way, anybody who's interested, he works for Compass, but in the commercial real estate division, not residential, that Compass is known for.
Correct.
But let me just stop quickly and say this is Firth and Friends. I'm here with Geoff Green, the CEO and the founder of NuOp, which stands for New Opportunities. And using your network for referrals is obviously a great way to get opportunities. And we like to think of Jeff's work as being the digital version of BNI, for those of you who want to find a reference point. So tell me again, Jeff, we've talked about this, is what was the process you went through and what did you learn as you were building this? Again, you weren't a software engineer, but I have to say your knowledge of technology trumps mine by a long shot. But I would say of all the people I work with, probably you're at number 1, number 2 spot, along with our friend Mikhail. I'd say the two of you are the really most technologically sound and knowledgeable.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, right? Necessity is the mother of all inventions. So,
Yeah.
when you throw yourself into the fire like I have, you better learn fast,
So what were some of those learnings?
Well, I think let's start right there, right? When you throw yourself into the fire, you got to learn fast, otherwise you're going to get burned. I think my ability to learn rapidly and act rapidly comes from my deep-rooted experience in sales.
I would agree.
Right. I mean, I've been in sales for a very long time, ever since I was a kid. I was selling blueberries on the side of the street when I was 10 years old,
Oh, I didn't know you
So
did that.
I've been selling for a very long time. Yeah, well, today's not the day for those long stories. I want to try to give people, value in terms of starting things and what to do. But anyway, you got to learn rapidly. You got to be ready to go. And, I've always had somewhat of a propensity for technology, although I didn't get into it from a computer science level and an education background. I've always been on the sales side of business. But software has always been a big part of my business, right? Training other people how to use third-party platforms and stuff. So I understand software very well. But the learnings are, as well as I thought I knew software, there was so much I didn't know, and I think that everybody should, who's maybe thinking about developing a technology product should just really stop for a minute and just understand how hard it is, right? And how there really are not enough human beings on planet Earth to develop all the products that need to be developed and want to be developed. There's a high demand for these people who are able to do this stuff. So it's really hard to find good people that are willing to work for you at a reasonable rate. And then, it just gets so deep and so vast, so fast, your head will spin, so
that's
really
interesting that you say that about the people part of it.
Yeah.
You've gotten a team together. And I hear this from entrepreneurs all the time. How did you motivate that team? What motivates a team like that who maybe are not making top dollar and could if they wanted to, but they stick to this? What were some of the things you learned about how to motivate
It's an
them?
interesting question. So first of all, I just want to go back real quick. You said I was the founder of NuOp. That's not true. I'm the co-founder. And I think that's a very important piece, right? This is not about me. This is not about my ego or anything. I would not be where I am in NuOp without my other co-founders. Okay. They've been instrumental in this and equally as important as I have been in this whole thing. So to that end,
you're a big believer in having sort of a partnership with several individuals. We know others who have gone it alone. It's been hard, but those who have partners and you can work with the partners.
Well, I think it depends on the scope of the business, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to do something big here, like we're trying to build $1 billion company, and this, you can't do that by yourself. Most people can't. I couldn't, so I need people, to be on mission with me. The guy that deserves a lot of credit to that end to helping us build the team is our CTO, Adrian Coria. He's down in Argentina and he is a full stack software engineer. And, he's kind of like a fractional CTO for us because, we can't afford him full time. But he is also a co-founder and he's just really brought a lot of really good people to us through the course of time. We were talking before we went live here about the learnings, right? And one of them, in addition to how hard it was and how did we build the team and how did we motivate, we're going to talk in a little bit about smaller is sometimes better. And that's kind of where we are now. We had to pare back from, a bigger team to a smaller team just to, extend our runway, if you will. Exactly. But in terms of motivating them, look, I think, NuOp is a really good idea and it's growing organically. It always has. We've never really spent any dollars on marketing at all. And it's just grown organically. And I think that the engineers, I'm good about expressing to them, showing them what our full roadmap is, telling them from the business side how it's going to work, how we're going to generate revenue. I want everybody to know everything about the business because these are very smart individuals. And just because they're engineers doesn't mean they may not have a great business idea.
I know. I think that's a great learning. That's a great learning. We often think of engineers as being anti-business or too creative.
I'm not interested in keeping everybody in their own little silo. I want as much cross collaboration as possible because these are human beings that are very intelligent. And they're far better than any AI product than we can ever have, So I want to tap them for their resource of their intellect, but they also they love that, right? Because a lot of companies they could work for, they are in a silo and they're never going to be part of the meetings. And it's maybe not, everything that they do is impactful on the growth of the platform. And that's exciting to an engineer, it's to be part of a small team. It doesn't hurt to bring some levity, just have people laugh. I try to crack jokes here and there when I can.
I was told the other day I was too serious. I look too serious. So I'm trying to smile a little bit more.
Yeah, it's hard when you're pushing hard. It's hard not to be serious, but sometimes we have to stop ourselves and, have a little fun every now and then. So I think it's the little things, they appreciate the sincerity of who I am and what I'm trying to do. And, I work hard for them so that we all can have this opportunity together. We talk about climbing the mountain together, and I'm leading the journey up the mountain and I'm trying to pull everybody along with me, but I'm not leaving anybody behind, because when we reach that mountaintop, everybody's going to be rewarded.
Yeah. And that's, I think, very important is people are willing to take less money and more equity because they believe in the product. And that gives them a lot of motivation to do really good work because they're in it with you. But now let's talk a little bit about how you funded this. I like to think of Orville and Wilbur Wright when I talk to you, which they were bicycle salesmen. They had a bicycle shop in Ohio. And they'd go down to North Carolina on a regular basis to test and improve whatever they were working on. And, to us, we think, what's the difference? From bicycle to airplane, it's a long road, but actually it wasn't at that time. And they only were able to take flight for a few seconds and then they increased it, but they had very little money, but they had a lot of energy and a lot of dedication and a real vision. And they had timing. There was a lot of work going on at that time, trying to figure out how to get these flying machines to fly. Sure. And the U.S. government spent lots of money and showed nothing for it. And it was these two men with very little know-how, very little money, through sheer determination, actually got it to go. And I think of you a lot I think of them a lot when we talk. So give us a little insight into the funding and the narrow path you're in right now with the real estate market not so good and high cost of capital.
Yeah, well, it's certainly, I've largely been able to build NuOp with the earnings that I've received from my real estate enterprise, and now that market has contracted, it's certainly made things more of a challenge, But like I said, with every challenge comes an opportunity, and you have to be able to see those opportunities, make pivots, make adjustments, so on and so forth. And, we've had to, because of funding, we've had to reduce the size of our team. We just have had to do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to keep it going. So, but with that has come some very good things is, you're able to better manage who you do have. You're better able to provide the support that they need to keep going, right? Because a lot of what these engineers need is feedback. They need feedback from the boots on the ground, the people using the system, so that they can make the adjustments that they need to make. So it's certainly allowed us to do more of that. When you have less people to stay on top of, less people to make sure they're working in an optimal fashion,
Right.
it suddenly opens up time for you to take a look around and maybe think a little bit more critically about things. So, patience is really a virtue, and
Okay.
it's kind of the opposite of what you hear. And everybody's always been like, speed, you got to build fast, But man, if we built really fast this whole time, we would have missed so many learnings, like we would have been somewhere else. Like we wouldn't have had time to make those little incremental adjustments
Right.
to be where we are now. We would have built
Right.
something, who knows where it would be. And it probably would have failed a long time ago,
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we know of an entrepreneur who works also with us, um, and he was very bleeding edge for many years. He was ahead of his time, and one of the
Mhm.
things he faced was the timing issue, which was he was ahead of his time, and only now is really through some near field technology and so forth. I won't go into what his business is, but yeah, he was ahead of his time. Timing is everything.
Mhm.
How has that influenced your rate of production, and how much have you been aware of just getting the timing right?
Well, look, I mean, as I sit here and say patience is a virtue, I'm a very, impatient person by nature, and I want it done yesterday.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that, look, this has been a long construction project for us, right? For,
Mhm.
a team that, the way that I like to say it is we're the guys with all the great ideas and the ability to sell, but not the budget to build what we need to build,
Right,
So it's
right.
just been a slow process in terms of constructing the technology
No.
platform itself. Um,
I think it was
so
very interesting that you said not go fast. I actually believe the timing is very good. We're seeing a lot of these sort of platforms, marketplaces, but referral marketplaces popping up. And you've put a lot into this, and actually, I think the timing is very, very good.
yeah,
But
well, like
yeah,
I said, as the real estate market contracts, just the real estate industry alone, which is a massive industry, is they're searching for more business right now and better ways to do it, and that's usually when you have the time to come in and offer up something new, right? Is when people are slowed a little bit and they have time to think and look around,
right,
So
right.
hopefully that's the
Yeah.
case.
So tell us a little bit about the platform itself. What's interesting to me is when you first presented it to me,
Mhm.
my first thought is, what's the difference between the marketplaces that are out there now and this
Right.
particular tool? And
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I think, the differentiating factor between us and every other platform that's out there, right? Because you could compare us to LinkedIn, you could compare us to Thumbtack, you could compare us to Alignable, Angie's List, it
Mhm.
goes on and on. There's a lot of different types of marketplaces out there
Right.
and networking, options for people. But there is a high concentrated focus on the exchange of business opportunities. Okay. And what I mean
Mhm.
by a business opportunity is a recommendation, it is a referral, or a job, right? Those are the
Mhm.
three different types of opportunities. So we have a comment that just came in, John, and it says, how is NuOp
Mhm.
different than BNI? It's a perfect timing for that question to have come
Yeah,
in. So
that's a
I'll
great,
answer
great
that right
question.
now. Um, so BNI is an organization that I actually belonged to many years ago. Probably 20 years ago, I was in a BNI. I was a founding member of a BNI chapter and helped it get going. And we exchanged a lot of business. And with BNI, you have to physically meet every single week, right, with a
Mhm.
certain group of people. And the point is to exchange referrals, right? Or what in NuOp world we call business opportunities, right?
Mhm.
So that is very effective. BNI is a great organization, and I'm not looking to, disrupt or damage BNI in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I think over the
Although
course of
I
time,
would love to see, I personally would love to see BNI disrupted.
well,
I personally, but that's my personal preference.
yeah,
I
that's
was a member and got nothing out of it.
well, I think, look, your business may not have been a
Yeah,
natural fit
right,
for BNI, right? I mean,
right.
mine was as a real estate agent,
Yeah.
so it was quite
No, I
good for me.
understand.
And I do think it's a great organization. I think there's a lot of good people in that organization. There's a lot of good people that work in it as, affiliates of it, right?
Right.
But yeah, and you'll never replace hand-to-hand combat, right?
Yeah.
Networking, it's important. Like, humans need to be around other humans. But for example, BNI, as a very specific example, BNI has a platform that you can track your referrals and this, that, the other thing. But all of that data that's being created between those members, it never gets outside of that little network, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what NuOp can do for you, right? Is like, if you're using NuOp to exchange all your referrals and the jobs that you hire or receive from people or recommendations, all that going into a mix, everybody in the world is going to know about it and all the good experiences that people have gotten from you either doing a service or giving a service, right? So
Yeah.
it's like a closed container, BNI, and all these networking groups. The outside world never really knows what's going on.
Well,
So
it's interesting, the hand-to-hand combat, because the thing with
yeah,
BNI is you can visit other groups, but the time and the energy that you have to get in touch with a group ahead
correct.
and get invited and then present what you have to present in
Yeah,
45 seconds,
it's too slow.
and hope
Yeah,
for the best. It's what's brilliant about COVID, or what came out of COVID, is we are much more comfortable with the digital world, with the virtual world. And
sure.
that just cuts down a lot of the time and energy required to get the message out. Tell me a little bit about how you're getting the message out, and again, why that's so much better than BNI.
How we're getting the message out about NuOp in general.
NuOp, and then also how NuOp, just how quickly it can go. Maybe you have a couple of transactions you want to tell us about. I know you've had some users get
Well,
very involved.
yeah, I mean, let me just say this, right? So we are supremely focused on building an excellent product. And I am just not going to waste any of our precious dollars trying to grow without having a fantastic product. And it
Yeah.
is my opinion, and after hearing lots of very smart people that have done big things in this industry,
Hmm.
all say that, look, if you've got a great product, it's going to grow. You don't really need to spend a whole lot on Google ads and Facebook ads. And that's really
Right.
our approach. We're trying to grow organically, right?
Hmm.
So we have some, growth levers built within NuOp. You can import, all of your contacts and
Hmm.
whatnot from Gmail, AOL accounts, Yahoo, so on and so forth. And you can quickly invite people. And it behooves the NuOp member, to do that, right? Because the whole point of NuOp is to take what you're already doing and make it more effective for you, right? Like, we all, as business people,
Beneficent.
we're all exchanging referrals and recommendations all the time. We're
Right.
already doing it, right? But the difference is, we're giving out now those. Let me back up one step and bring out the concept of opportunity data, right? Which is a really
Good.
important concept. No one talks
Excellent.
about opportunity data. It's kind of a phrase that I've coined,
Hmm.
and I don't want to trademark, because I want it actually to be a phrase that people use, right? Like, you think of contact data, you think of
Hmm.
financial data, you think of
Hmm.
healthcare data, all of these different
Hmm.
data sets, right? No one
Hmm.
thinks about opportunity data. Well, what is opportunity data? Well, it's the data that I created when you asked me, hey, Jeff, who would you know for whatever? I give you
Okay.
information back. That's opportunity data that could lead to revenue being exchanged and all of these different things. So we, as business professionals, are exchanging opportunity data all the time. We're already doing it, but we're giving
Right.
it away through a text message, or we're giving it away through an email, or we're just calling somebody and giving it to them. So now it's gone. The opportunity data is gone. The
Mhm.
difference is, if you just use NuOp to exchange that opportunity data, it retains the data, it tracks the
Mhm.
data, it reminds all the parties, it follows up for you to track revenue, to track experience through reviews, and it aggregates it all for you so that you know what your opportunity data is doing for you.
Right. And I think that's a big difference to BNI. It's very heavy in terms of manual. You put in the stuff manually. I remember when I was part of BNI, there was always the request from the head of the group to please remember to put the
Enter
transaction
in,
data in
right.
there.
Enter in your
And
data.
at the end of the year, it was, half the data was missing and people had to
Right.
go back and do it. And then you didn't have anything else. That was it. You
Right.
just solved the
Right.
transaction.
So look, let's not go too hard on BNI, because at some point, one of my aspirations is to walk in their office and say, look, you can leverage NuOp here to make your organization better. So that's,
I would love to see that
I hope to
happen.
have
Yeah.
that meeting
Oh,
someday.
no, I'm not
But
ragging on BNI. I'm just pointing out that BNI requires a lot of A lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, there is our great challenge, right? Because most human beings, they don't want to enter anything into a phone. It's like I've been teaching CRM systems for a very long time as a leader of sales organizations, right? And like less than 20% of the people want to spend any time on it. They don't want to deal with the data entry and this, that, the other thing. So that's one of our great challenges of NuOp is I know most people don't want to do anything. They just want to hit the easy button all the time.
Right. Yep.
So our challenge is to make our technology platform so easy to use that it's just as easy as sending a text message. That's our challenge.
And I think one of the things that you've really proven yourself adept at is test and improve, test and improve, test and improve.
Sure.
There've been lots of bugs, but you've been on top of them like bug spray.
Yeah. Whack-a-mole.
So where are you going to go from now? So you've got people you're bringing it out. Tell us how you're launching this.
Yeah.
You talked about organic growth.
Yeah, you always say you're launching. Well, we launched a long time ago. We've been out there in the public domain for some time, but to your point, yes, I am now starting to focus on growth, and I am putting ourselves out there because I feel like our product is robust enough and steady enough in terms of performance to be able to handle a large influx of users. So we are on the hunt to grow at this point in time. So my intuition, takes me to doing things like this, to doing podcasts and interviews online. We have a live training that we are doing with individuals who are leaders of organizations, different professions, and we're doing those training sessions, not publicly on LinkedIn Live or anything like that, but we're taking those videos, we're cutting them up, and we're going to put them into our feeds. So you'll start to see more and more people who are going through the process of learning NuOp and coming to the point of the aha moment, like, oh, I get it. Now I understand what we're doing, where you're headed, and how I can use this, right? So that's really what we're focused on right now. And from a selfish perspective, while we're growing and we're getting the word out there to people, we're learning a lot more about what it is that resonates with people and little tweaks that we need to make it even less frictionless as a software platform.
So I guess one of your big learnings is the human being is a lazy animal and wants it as simple and easy as possible.
Well, a human being is a very intelligent being.
Right. Well, we do have language,
and we all want to work smarter, not harder, right? So if we don't have to take extra effort, I mean, it goes back, right? Humans take the path of least resistance.
Yes.
Right.
We avoid pain. Everything we do is to avoid pain.
Humans take the path of least resistance. So it is our challenge to build the least resistant way for people to exchange opportunity data. That's our challenge. And that's what we work on every day.
Yeah. So give me an example of what you found out. I mean, I know I work very hard on what I do to make sure it's at the threshold of getting involved in what I do is as low as I can get it. But how does that translate to some of the things you've had to rethink because the threshold was too great for somebody to actually get active on the platform?
Well, the biggest example is we made a major pivot, away from the original mission of NuOp. Originally what we set out to do is to build an application that could be utilized only by real estate agents. Right? We didn't want anybody else in there, just real estate agents to exchange client referrals to one another, right? So we did it. We built it. We built a good system that, and it still to this day, it will create a legally binding referral agreement that you can assign a referral fee to, right? And anybody can use that feature if they want to. And realtors, it's still the vast majority of opportunities being exchanged are agent to agent referrals.
And may I just add, that's without using blockchain.
Well, our system uses blockchain.
It does. Okay.
To authenticate. Yes.
Oh, okay. Good. Then I was wrong. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So it is a distributed method. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you use blockchain. So then I would say it's a great example of how one could use blockchain. I think a lot of people have no clue of what blockchain does, but it is, in this case, you needed blockchain to make this work.
Yeah, it makes your contract irrefutable, right? It means that the referral agreement that you have is going to be able to be proven that it really happened for the test of time, right? So all the referral agreements that are created through NuOp are, distributed through blockchain. So anyway, we then built this app and we started to try to go out there and grow, right? So we're at conferences and telling the world about NuOp. And what we found was there just wasn't enough frequency. In other words, there weren't enough agent to agent referrals to make a really robust marketplace, right? Robust enough to make a viable business out of it. So we said to ourselves, all right, we've got two options at this point. We either A, hang it up because it's not going to work, or B, we make a pivot and try to go bigger. And it was daunting at first, because in the back of my mind, I always knew what NuOp should be, right? And the full-fledged NuOp where we are now and where we're headed, which is, to go into any vertical and allow anybody who's a business person or just even a retiree at home that just wants to find good service providers. Why shouldn't everybody be able to use it, right? But it was a little bit scary, right, at first to kind of think that big, right? But we quickly realized that if we don't start thinking that big, we're not going to make it. This app is just not going to, it's not going to resonate. So that's a good example of building, testing, getting input and feedback from real people, real users, and being able to recognize and being honest with what they're telling you and not just sitting there kidding yourself,
Would you say that your understanding of the average consumer, and this is not average consumer, this is obviously well-educated, hardworking entrepreneurs and others, but would you say you really understood consumer behavior or your customer behavior much better than when you got started?
I think, again, our approach was we started out in the real estate industry and we still are very much focused on growing through the real estate industry. And if you're asking me, do I know the mentality and psychology of a real estate broker and agent? Yeah, inside and out, because I am one myself, right? And do I know the mindset and the abilities and strengths and weaknesses of those that support the real estate industry? Home inspectors, attorneys, financial planners, all those pieces come together. Yeah, I do know those mindsets pretty well, and I understand how all those industries work within each other. And the fact of the matter is, there's a huge amount of business being exchanged all the time, you know.
Right.
And a lot of it is largely uncompensated. A lot of it, most of it, and many times, as a real estate broker, I mean, I've given out hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue. It might even be in the millions at this point, over 20 years of doing business. I mean. And I think if you're somebody that's given out a lot of business to other providers, you could honestly say this probably as well. How many times have you gotten money as a result? Very few. All right. But how many times have you gotten a gift from somebody? A bottle of wine? Very few.
Very often at all.
All right. So let's keep going down the line. All right. So money would be like the best. The next would be a gift. The next would be a thank you card. You could probably count those on one hand,
or even an email,
or even an email. Or
I facilitated someone into a job.
Right.
I didn't even get a thank you email.
Correct. So that's the problem, right? It's a problem for all of us because like what we do is valuable by connecting people, and the fact that nothing really comes back and people forget that we did those things, like that just bothers me to the core. And that's why we've built NuOp, because we're just curious as hell to see if we can solve it, to just make it more equitable.
Absolutely. I agree. Actually, right now, I would say I even agree more than when I started this conversation, because it really, making me think about what I've done for referrals, because I love making referrals. One, because I love seeing people succeed. And also it just feels good that I have a huge network that I can utilize. But it is now that I think about that individual, it made me very angry at the time. I mean, a full paying job when he didn't have a job.
Yeah.
It was timing. It just so happened I had a guy running a small bank, actually a pretty large bank, was looking for someone. I can't remember what asset management, and it was a perfect fit. It was an absolute perfect fit. Not even a thank you note.
Yeah.
Much less a bottle of wine.
Right? I don't think any of us are really looking for much in return, but certainly some acknowledgement,
Yeah. And as you said,
way.
The best thing is that they have in the back of their head that you made a referral that helped them, that they at least try to make a referral back to thank you.
Right.
Not necessarily, it's not necessary, but to know you're front of mind and have it documented.
Right. And here's one important point that shouldn't be missed, right? Is who wants to make that phone call, email, or text message to the other person saying, hey, do you remember all that business I gave to you last year? Like, no one, you don't want to do that. That's
No,
that's
no,
annoying. It's not, it has no
it's
dignity or
antisocial.
class. So
Right.
that's what NuOp can do for you, right? Like, it does all the dirty work that, you know, you don't have to do it.
All right. Well, this has been a great conversation. I really say, and I've worked with you for 2 years now, and you introduced me to the business model canvas, which was a great tool to help you
Mhm.
through this, which we haven't had a chance to talk about. The only thing I would mention is what I think is really brilliant about the model. It's self-reinforcing. As soon as you're on there and you're making referrals and getting referrals, you've brought in all your data. And then by virtue of doing referrals to people who aren't members yet or aren't really active on the platform, you pull them in.
Mhm.
It's really, that's built into the business model. But
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Mhm.
Again, I've been talking to Geoffrey Green. He is the CEO of NuOp. If you want to get to know the platform, you can contact him at the email address on the screen, or you can go to nuop.com. Geoffrey, any last words you want to say?
Yeah, well, what on the bottom of the screen you see nuop.com/ggreen. That's not an email, but it's a link specifically to my personal profile page on NuOp. All members
Mhm.
can join for free for life. There's no risk to join NuOp. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
So go ahead and join. Get going on it. Sign up for a training session if you'd like. You can reach out to us. 9 times out of 10, if you submit a chat session on NuOp, it'll be me talking to you, the CEO,
Mhm.
because I'm highly interested in learning what your experiences are and how we can make the platform work better for you. So if you want to sign up and get directly connected with me, just go to nuop.com/ggreen and we'll take it from there.
Exactly. And you'll see me on that platform too. I'm
That's
doing a
right.
training session. Is it
Next
next
week,
week, Jen?
1 week
Yeah.
from
So
today.
looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
All
So,
right.
everybody go out and disrupt an industry. It's like Jeff is. It's a lot of fun.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, John.